Humanity's wrath arrived 40,000 years after Earth's destruction. Captain Zaran spotted the humans' massive ship emerge on his scanners. Blood running cold, he knew the legends, and now every KR knew to run. Zaran commanded the Krell's Fury on a routine patrol in the Outer Rim. The human ship, an unfamiliar Leviathan, dwarfed his battlecruiser. Hails went unanswered, then it vanished without a trace. Zaran reported to Krell High Command, determined to unravel this mystery. The humans were supposed to be extinct. Their return heralded doom for the Krell Imperium and the subjugated races of the galaxy. It was up to Zaran to learn the humans' intentions and stop them or kneel before humanity's resurgent vengeance. The Krell had mere days to discover the human plan and save their empire from annihilation. Captain Zaran pored over the ancient records, his eyes scanning the faded text. The more he read, the more his curiosity grew. The records spoke of a species known as humans who had once ruled a vast empire that spanned the galaxy. They had been a force to be reckoned with, their technology far surpassing anything the Krell had ever seen. But then the records revealed the humans had been destroyed in a cataclysmic war with an unknown enemy over 40,000 years ago. The few survivors had fled to the far reaches of the galaxy, never to be seen again. Zaran leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. Could it be possible? Could the humans still be out there somewhere, waiting to return and reclaim their lost empire? He had to find out. He had to know the truth. Zaran spent the next few days locked in his quarters, studying the records and searching for any clues that might lead him to the humans' whereabouts. He barely slept, barely ate. His crew began to worry about him, but he paid them no mind. He was consumed by his quest. Finally, after days of searching, he found a lead. The records mentioned a planet on the edge of the galaxy, a planet that had once been a thriving human settlement. It was a long shot, but it was the only clue he had. Zaran set a course for the planet, his heart pounding with anticipation. When they arrived, they found only ruins, the remnants of a once great civilization. As Zaran explored the crumbling buildings and overgrown streets, he began to find artifacts, pieces of technology that were far beyond anything the Krell had ever created. He picked up a small device, turning it over in his hands. It was a handheld computer, sleek and powerful. He pressed a button and the screen lit up, displaying a holographic interface that was both beautiful and intuitive. Zaran spent hours studying the artifacts, marveling at their complexity and sophistication. The more he learned, the more he realized that the humans had been far more than just a myth. They had been a force to be reckoned with, a civilization that had achieved wonders beyond imagining. But what had happened to them? What had caused their downfall? And could they still be out there somewhere, waiting to return and reclaim what was theirs? Zaran didn't know the answers, but he knew one thing for certain. The humans were real, and they were a threat to the Krell Imperium. He had to find them, had to stop them before it was too late. He gathered up the artifacts and returned to his ship, his mind already racing with plans and possibilities. The hunt was on, and he would not rest until he had uncovered the truth behind the legend of the humans. Captain Zaran stood on the bridge of his ship, staring out at the vast expanse of space before him. He had been searching for weeks, following every lead and clue he could find about the legendary humans. But so far his efforts had yielded nothing. His first officer, a tall, muscular Krell named Gar, approached him with a concerned look on his face. "Captain, I must speak with you," Gar said, his voice low. Zaran turned to face him, his eyes narrowed. "What is it, Gar?" The crew is growing restless. Gar said, "They feel that we have been neglecting our duties in pursuit of this obsession of yours." Zaran's jaw clenched. "It is not an obsession," he growled. "It is a mission of the utmost importance. The humans could pose a threat to our entire empire." Gar shook his head. "With all due respect, Captain, there is no evidence to support that claim. The humans have been gone for thousands of years. Even if they did still exist, what makes you think they would be a threat to us?" Zaran slammed his fist down on the console, causing Gar to flinch. "You didn't see what I saw on that planet," he snarled. "The technology they possessed, it was beyond anything we have ever encountered. If they were to return, they could wipe us out in a matter of days." Gar opened his mouth to respond, but was interrupted by a loud beeping from the communications console. Zaran strode over to it and pressed a button, his eyes widening as he read the message that appeared on the screen. "It's from High Command," he said, his voice grim. "They are ordering me to abandon my investigation and return to Krell space immediately." Gar looked relieved. "Then we should do as they say, Captain. This search has gone on long enough." But Zaran shook his head, a determined look on his face. "No," he said firmly. "I will not abandon this mission, not when we are so close to the truth." He turned to face his crew, his voice ringing out across the bridge. "I know that many of you have doubts about what we are doing here, but I assure you, this is not some wild goose chase. The humans are real, and they are out there somewhere. And if we don't find them first, someone else will." He paused, his eyes scanning the faces of his crew. "I cannot force any of you to come with me, but I'm going to continue this search with or without you. If you wish to leave, you may do so now, but if you choose to stay, know that you are a part of something greater than yourselves. Something that could change the course of history." There was a moment of silence, and then Gore stepped forward, his head held high. "I'm with you, Captain," he said, his voice firm, "to the end." One by one, the rest of the crew stepped forward as well, their faces set with determination. Zoran felt a surge of pride as he looked out at his loyal crew, knowing that they would follow him to the ends of the galaxy if need be. Then it settled. He said, his voice ringing out with authority, "We will continue our search, no matter the cost, and we will not rest until we have found the truth." With that, he turned back to the console and began to plot a new course, his mind racing with possibilities. He knew that he was taking a great risk by defying his superiors, but he also knew that he could not turn back now. Not when he was so close to uncovering the greatest mystery in the history of the galaxy. As the ship sped through the stars, Zoran could feel a sense of excitement building within him. He didn't know what lay ahead, but he knew that he was ready to face whatever challenges came his way, and with his loyal crew by his side, he knew that nothing could stop him from achieving his goal. They had been flying for days, venturing further and further into uncharted space. The crew was on edge, their nerves frayed from the constant stress of being in unknown territory, but Zoran remained focused, his eyes fixed on the scanners as he searched for any sign of the humans. Suddenly, the ship's sensors began to beep urgently. Zoran leaned forward, his heart pounding as he saw a blip appear on the screen. It was a ship, but not like any he had ever seen before. It was massive, easily dwarfing their own vessel, and it seemed to be made of some kind of strange shimmering metal. Zoran's first instinct was to approach the ship and try to make contact, but before he could give the order, the communications console crackled to life. A deep, growly voice filled the bridge, sending shivers down Zoran's spine. "Pay attention, Krell vessel." The voice said, its tone menacing. "This is Zoran, leader of the Black Star Pirates. You are trespassing in our territory. Surrender now or be destroyed." Zoran's eyes narrowed. He had heard of Zoran and his band of ruthless pirates, but he had never encountered them before. He knew that they were not to be trifled with, but he also knew that he could not back down now. "This is Captain Zoran of the Krell Imperium," he said, his voice firm. "We mean you no harm. We are on a mission of great importance, and we request safe passage through your territory." There was a moment of silence, and then Zoran's voice came again, this time with a hint of amusement. "A mission of great importance, you say? And what might that be?" Zoran hesitated, unsure of how much to reveal, but he knew that he needed Zoran's help if he was going to continue his search. "We are searching for a lost species known as the humans," he said, his voice steady. "We believe that they may have left behind technology and artifacts that could be of great value to us." Zoran laughed, a harsh grating sound. "The humans? You're chasing a myth, Captain. But I'll tell you what, I've heard of your little quest, and I'm intrigued. If you're willing to share any technology or treasure you might find, I'll help you out, but if you try to double-cross me, I'll blast you out of the sky faster than you can blink." Zoran gritted his teeth, his mind racing. He didn't trust Zoran, but he knew that he had no choice. "Very well," he said, his voice tight. "We have a deal, but I warn you, Zoran, if you betray us, you will regret it." Zoran laughed again. "I like your spirit, Captain, but don't worry, I always keep my word. Now let's get moving. We've got a lot of ground to cover." With that, the two ships set off together, venturing into the unknown depths of space. Zoran knew that he was taking a great risk by allying himself with a pirate, but he also knew that he would do whatever it took to find the humans and uncover the truth behind their disappearance. As they flew deeper into uncharted space, Zoran could feel a sense of excitement building within him once again. He didn't know what lay ahead, but he knew that he was one step closer to his goal, and with Zoran and his pirates by his side, he knew that he had a fighting chance of succeeding. The ship shook as another blast rocked the hull. Zoran gripped the armrests of his chair, his knuckles white. "Report," he barked. "Shields at 60%. Captain Gar replied, his voice tense. "The Zani are hitting us hard." Zaran gritted his teeth. They had been ambushed by a Zani warship just as they were entering the uncharted system. The Zani had demanded that they surrender and hand over any information they had about the humans, but Zaran had refused. Now they were locked in a desperate battle for survival. The Zani ship was larger and more heavily armed than their own, and Zaran knew that they couldn't hold out for much longer. "Captain, I'm picking up some kind of anomaly on the scanners," one of the crew members said, his voice shaking. "It's like nothing I've ever seen before." Zaran leaned forward, his eyes narrowing on the screen. He could see a swirling vortex of energy pulsing with an eerie green light. It seemed to be drawing them in, pulling them towards it with an irresistible force. "What is that thing?" Zaran asked, his voice tense. "I don't know." Zaran replied, "But we don't have a choice. We have to go through it." He turned to the helmsman. "Take us in, full speed ahead." The ship lurched forward, plunging into the heart of the anomaly. The crew braced themselves as the ship shook and shuddered, the hull groaning under the strain, and then, just as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. The ship emerged on the other side of the anomaly, and Zaran's eyes widened in shock. Before them lay a vast expanse of space, dotted with the ruins of ancient ships and stations. It was like a graveyard, a testament to some long-forgotten battle. "What is this place?" Zaran whispered, his voice filled with awe. "I don't know," Zaran replied, "but I have a feeling we're about to find out." Suddenly, the ship's sensors began to beep urgently. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal," Gar said, his voice tense. "It's coming from one of the stations." Zaran hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Take us in, Gyar, but be on your guard. We don't know what we're walking into." As they approached the station, Zaran could see that it was badly damaged, its hull scorched and blackened by weapons fire. But there was something else too, a faint glimmer of light coming from one of the airlocks. They docked with the station, and Zaran led a team of his best warriors inside. But their weapons at the ready, the station was dark and silent, the only sound the echo of their footsteps on the metal floor. And then, suddenly they heard a voice. "Who's there?" It called out, weak and wavering. Zaran stepped forward, his heart pounding. "I am Captain Zaran of the Krell Imperium," he said, his voice ringing out in the darkness. "We come in peace." There was a moment of silence, and then a figure emerged from the shadows. It was a man, tall and gaunt, with a shock of white hair and piercing blue eyes. "I am Dante," he said, his voice thin and reedy, "and I have been waiting for you." Zaran's eyes widened in shock. "Waiting for us? What do you mean?" Dante smiled, a sad, haunted smile. "I am the last of the humans," he said, "and I have a message for you." He gestured for them to follow him and led them deeper into the station, to a small, dimly lit room. In the center of the room stood a stasis pod, its surface frosted over with age. "We have been hiding here for thousands of years," Dante said, his voice filled with a deep, abiding sadness, waiting for the right moment to strike back against our ancient enemy, the Zani. Zaran's mind raced with questions, but before he could ask them, Dante continued. "The Zani believe that we hold the key to ultimate power," he said, "and they will stop at nothing to obtain it. But we cannot let that happen. The fate of the galaxy depends on it." He turned to Zaran, his eyes burning with a fierce intensity. "Captain Zaran, I have seen the future, and in that future, you play a crucial role in the fight against the Zani. But you must be ready, you must be strong, for the battles that lie ahead will test you in ways you cannot imagine." Zaran nodded, his heart racing with a mixture of fear and excitement. He knew that he was standing on the brink of something momentous, something that would change the course of history. And he was ready for it, ready to fight, ready to die, ready to do whatever it took to protect the galaxy from the Zani and their insatiable hunger for power. He turned to his crew, his eyes blazing with determination. "We have a new mission," he said, his voice ringing out in the silence. "We must find the key to defeating the Zani, and we must do it before they find us. The fate of the galaxy depends on it." And with that, they set out into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, for they knew that they were no longer just warriors, but the guardians of a secret that could change the course of history forever. The station shook as another blast rocked the hull, alarms blared, and sparks flew from damaged consoles. Zaran gripped the edge of a control panel to steady himself. "Shields are down to 20%, Gore shouted over the chaos. "We can't take much more of this." Zaran gritted his teeth. The Zani had found them. A dozen of their warships had dropped out of hyperspace, weapons blazing. They were outnumbered and outgunned. "Dante, how much longer until your fleet is ready?" Zaran asked, turning to the human leader. Dante's face was grim. The reactivation sequence is almost complete. But we need more time. Zoran nodded. Then we'll buy you that time. GR, divert all power to weapons and thrusters. Zoran, take your ship and flank them from the left. We'll hit them with everything we've got. Zoran grinned, a fierce light in his eyes with pleasure, Captain. The two ships peeled away from the station, weapons charging. They wove through the Zani fleet, dodging missiles and energy beams. Zoran's fingers flew over the controls, targeting the nearest warship. He fired a volley of torpedoes, watching with satisfaction as they slammed into the enemy ship's hull. But the Zani were relentless. They swarmed around Zoran and Zoran's ships like angry hornets, pummeling them with laser fire. Consoles exploded, and the deck lurched beneath Zoran's feet. Shields are gone, Gur reported, his voice tight with strain. Hull breach on deck 4. Zoran's heart raced. They couldn't hold out much longer. He glanced at the readout showing the status of the human fleet. Just a few more minutes. Suddenly, a blinding light filled the view screen. Zoran squinted against the glare, his eyes widening as he saw what had appeared. A massive fleet of human ships had materialized out of nowhere, their sleek silver hulls glinting in the starlight. They moved with a fluid grace, like a school of deadly fish, and they were armed to the teeth. The Zani ships scattered, were caught off guard by the sudden appearance of this new threat. The human ships opened fire, their weapons cutting through the enemy fleet like a hot knife through butter. Zoran watched in awe as the tide of the battle turned. The human ships moved with a precision and coordination that was breathtaking to behold. They seemed to anticipate the Zani's every move, countering their attacks with a deadly efficiency. Within minutes, the Zani fleet was in ruins, ships exploded, and debris littered the battlefield. The few remaining enemy vessels turned tail and fled, vanishing into the depths of space. Zoran slumped back in his chair, his heart pounding with exhilaration and relief. They had done it. Against all odds, they had won. The calm crackled to life and Dante's voice filled the bridge. This is Dante to all ships. The Zani have been defeated, but this is only the beginning. Zoran leaned forward, listening intently. We are the humans, and we have returned, Dante continued, his voice ringing with a fierce determination. For those who have wronged us, you have one chance to surrender. If you do not, then you have only one option left, run. Zoran felt a shiver run down his spine. The galaxy would never be the same again. The humans had returned, and they were a force to be reckoned with. He glanced over at Zoran, who was grinning from ear to ear. Not bad for a day's work, eh, Captain? Zoran nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. Not bad at all, my friend, not bad at all. Together, they stood on the bridge of Zoran's ship, watching as the human fleet moved out into the stars, ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. The galaxy trembled before their might, and Zoran knew that he had been a part of something truly incredible.